The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Gang is all here. Matt and I in studio. Producer John via CRN Live on YouTube as usual, holding down the fort over there. We appreciate that. We want to let you know what's coming up here. And apparently, again, I said it before, I'll say it again, 2025 appears to be the year of the disqualification. That continues with word out of the NHRA. Surprise team sale in NASCAR. Who saw that coming? Driver gets a beer from a fan after an IndyCar race. Can't wait to talk about that. Updates on the FIA presidential nominees. We got the drivers that are up for Best Driver in the ESPY Awards. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We got that and a whole lot more. Flagship station is having its technical problems, but we are live on CRN Live on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Love the chat, love the comments. And we'll get this thing rolling right after we take this little break.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. To more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Time to get this thing rolling real quick. By the way, get used to that guy on the other screen over there beside me, because you out next week and really for the next couple of weeks. Got a couple of things going on.
Yeah, I'll be on a little bit of
You're taking a leave.
Yeah, I'll be on a little bit of a leave. Let's call it that. For about 3 weeks to a month. I will be gone next weekend on an international trip, and we'll be in transition coming home on that day. And then the next week, on that Monday, we'll be going under the knife again.
Yay.
And I'll be out for 2, possibly 3 weeks recovering from that, because I have to have throat surgery, removing my thyroid gland. So I may be incognito on the voices aspect for a little while.
Be thinking about him over the next few weeks for travel and for all the work that's going to be done.
Yep, I'll be incognito for about 3 weeks to possibly a month.
Yeah, so enjoy him now. That's what we're saying. All right, let's take a quick look back here and kind of get you caught up. Noted on the show last week that Connor Zilisch was going to have Dale Jr. on the War Wagon as his fill-in crew chief. Apparently it worked. Despite Junior downplaying how much he actually had to do, it became a battle of who was going to win in the restarts, of which there were a few in the final laps. What would be the final one? Zilisch was running side by side with Jesse Love for a lap before he took control. 3 laps to go, claims the win by less than half a second, marks his first win on an oval or triangle, whatever. Zilisch, then Love, and then you got Christian Eckes in third, Moonlighter Chase Elliott in fourth. We'll get back to that. Ryan Sieg, Carson Kvapil, Sam Mayer, Sammy Smith, Taylor Gray, Justin Allgaier fill out the top 10. We'll run down the points later because, hey, they ran last night. Sunday began with IndyCar running at Road America. Field led to green by Rookie of the Year contender Louis Foster. We were beginning to wonder whether or not he was starting to fade. Now all of a sudden he's claimed a pole. So, the Rookie of the Year battle is on. He was who followed in, by the way, fellow rookie Robert Schwartzman lead. He grabbed the pole for the Indy 500. The pole not going to help Louis Foster, whatever his name is. Alex Palou seems to have found his very early season footing again. Worked his way up front, claimed the lead, got the win after leading only 6 laps. Felix Rosenquist had to settle for second. Santino Ferrucci third. Going to have a good time with him later on in the news. Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Armstrong, Kiffin Simpson, David Malukas, Nolan Siegel, Scott Dixon. Dixon, by the way, led the most laps on the day at 27. And then Renus VK fills out the top 10. Your pole sitter, Louis Foster, he led 3 laps, faded to 11th by the time they got to the checkers. Not horrible day by any stretch. The pole position's a good start, and 11th place is not bad, but, still, you get pole. One would think you'd get a top 10.
That is true.
Palou extends his lead in the title run. He's now got a 386 to 293 point lead over Kyle Kirkwood. Padua Ward is third with 275. Felix Rosenquist with 231. In the top 5 rounded out by the 6-time champion Scott Dixon. That same title, or the same number, 231 points, just misses out on the tiebreakers. As far as that rookie points battle, Robert Schwartzman now leads it by a slim 104 to 102 points over Foster. In third is Jacob Abel with 56, so he's pretty much out of it. We'll keep an eye on him, though. And Honda still leads Chevrolet in the manufacturer's battle by a big margin. That is 819 to 636, mostly because, Alex Palou has dominated the year.
That is an understatement.
Yeah, it's been an unreal year. It was like Max Verstappen a couple of years ago in F1.
It is.
Sitting here watching this computer system that runs the FM side of this being taken over. It's just messing me up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Cup Series is next up, and they were running in Pocono as well. They're down to 1 race a year, and that's actually benefited them. They've sold out now for 3 years running. This year, they retreated to a finish that's much closer than the winner would have preferred. Plus, Chase Briscoe realized that he had a weapon that he might not have known he previously had. He had the ability to play the fuel mileage game. Briscoe left the pits on his final stop when the jack dropped. Despite his crew chief wanting him to wait until he said go, he just went on the first sound. But between feathering the throttle and one final caution period, Briscoe's fuel held out to the checkers. His teammate Denny Hamlin couldn't find a way around, claimed second. Hamlin said after he got to thinking about trying to pass his teammate Briscoe, but realized who was behind him, Ryan Blaney. And how, if he himself messed up in the attempt to pass, not only could he lose second to Blaney, but his teammate might lose out on the win, too. So he stayed right where he was. Final top 10. Briscoe, Hamlin, Blaney, Chris Buescher, Chase Elliott, John Hunter Nemechek, Kyle Larson, Ryan Preece, Brad Keselowski, and Austin Cindric. And that finish right there benefited that guy over there big time in the fantasy standings. We'll talk about that here a little bit later on, too. So now we have 11 of 16 playoff spots spoken for. And leading the way, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell. They've got 3 wins each. Single-time winners are William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, the addition of Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, and Shane Van Gisbergen. In on points, getting a little tougher now. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick in there as well. Then you got Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Alex Bowman. Ryan Preece is sitting 20 points behind Bowman for that final playoff spot. Mm-hmm. He was in the playoffs last week before Briscoe claimed the win. Keep that in mind. And then we go down to Virginia, where the NHRA got the American Rebel Light Virginia NHRA Nationals in. That's a mouthful. In Top Fuel, finals came down to a battle between Justin Ashley and Sean Langdon. Ashley was off the line first. Langdon gets the win at the line and then turns around and gets disqualified in post-race inspection. We'll give you the details coming up in the news. It hands Ashley the win. Ashley's car lost its engine, prompting a 4.167 ET at 227.92 when he crossed the line. Not real quick, but again, you blow an engine, that's what happens.
Ask Tony Stewart.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Beckman facing off against teammate Austin Prock in the funny car finals. Prock just a hair quicker reaction time. Beckman, though, had the lead past the Christmas tree. Well, Prock rallies. He claims the win. 4.061 ET, 318.02 miles per hour. That's his 3rd win of the year, his 15th of his career. By the way, Prock and Beckman, as we'll talk about in the points here in a moment, they are running away with this thing. Pro Stock car was off. Pro Stock motorcycle was running, though. Predictably, Gage Herrera made it to the finals, this time taking on Angie Smith. Somewhat surprisingly, because Herrera's great on reaction time, but Smith had the better reaction time. But by the 330-foot mark, Herrera was by her and went on and claimed the win.
Yep.
6.826 ET, 198.79 miles per hour. So here's your points rundown. Talking about Tony Stewart, you mentioned Tony Stewart when I was talking about blowing engines. He blew not just 1, but 2.
First one grenaded.
Okay.
Second one really didn't blow, just the blower messed up.
Okay.
The whole bottom, the what I seen and understood, the bottom end was okay. It's just the blower let go.
I got you. So engine problems for this weekend's race, but last week he red lighted for the first time in his fairly short career, but he still leads Top Fuel points by 51 over Sean Langdon. He's 121 up on Justin Ashley, 163 above Doug Kalita, 5th place Antron Brown, whole 180 points back. Austin Prock is the leader with Jack Beckman in 2nd. The split 60 points there. 99 back is Paul Lee. Ron Kepps 166 back, and Matt Hagan is 5th and fading 195 back. Pro Stock motorcycle points are again predictably led by Gage Herrera. He's now got a 100-point lead over 2nd place Matt Smith. Richard Gadsden's 126 out of 1st. Angie Smith 247 back. Yes, I said 247 back. And Chase Van Zandt 282 from 1st and needing binoculars to see Gage Herrera. Mm-hmm. All right, so this weekend's racing actually got rolling last night at Atlanta Motor Speedway, or what used to be called Atlanta Motor Speedway, now called Echo Park Speedway.
Echo Park.
We're not the only ones that are confused by that. The people that were on television last night were confused by it. But either way, you've got the results of the Xfinity.
Yeah, Mother Nature got a couple of stage wins last night, too.
Oh, yeah, nice. She can't help but play.
We have a first-time winner.
Oh, okay.
After they took the checkered flag at 11:23 Central Time last night.
Oh, yeah.
Keyword, Central Time.
Could have been worse.
Because Atlanta is on Eastern Time.
Yeah, could have been worse. Could have been the 24 hours of Darlington.
Oh. That's how you can say woof on that one.
Pretty much.
Yep. Rookies take the top 2 spots with Nick Sanchez getting his first win last night. Carson Quapple 2nd. Sam Mayer 3rd. Connor Zilic 4th. Taylor Gray 5th. Jesse Love, after wrecking the field early in the first start of the stage, finished 6th. Eric Almirola 7th. Daniel Dye 8th. Kyle Sieg 9th. And Jeremy Clements 10th.
All right, so here's your updated standings with the win by Sanchez. Your updated standings, 3 wins each for Justin Allgaier and Austin Hill. Connor Zilic has 2 wins. Your updated list of one-time winners now starts with Jesse Love, then goes to Brandon Jones. There's Sammy Smith slotted in just ahead of Sanchez, just ahead of Sammy Smith. The other 5 who were in on points, Sam Mayer, Carson Quapple, Taylor Gray, Jeb Burton, and Sheldon Creed. Ryan Sieg's on the outside looking in. The thing is, he's tied with Creed on points. Creed holds the tiebreaker there. Harrison Burton is 1 single point behind Creed and Sieg. So very, very tight here. And again, we still got to get to Daytona before they figure out who's going to be at the regular season and all that. So we still got time to get a whole bunch of people bumped out between here and the Cup Series. Time's not going to be so kind on the Truck Series because they're going to take a lot of weeks off here. I think they're only this is today's race is 3 left before they get into the playoffs.
I think, not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'll let you look that up while we tell you where the Craftsman Truck Series is going to be in action. They are bringing NASCAR for the first time ever to Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. It's a relatively short road course, 7 turns, 1.5 miles long, but it's not like Formula E, which generally does that stuff on a street course. This is a dedicated road course in Connecticut.
They're running the name of the layout. Doggone it. Let me just do this.
All right.
Let me pull the name of that layout they're running up. Of all things, I'm going to pull it up via iRacing because they got every single layout. And there's like 3 different names to it.
Yeah, by the way, the race is going to air on the network, Fox Network. And if you're listening on the radio, the NASCAR Racing Network starts 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time.
And apparently, doing PA at Lime Rock is Mike Joy.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all.
And supposedly he's going to be chiming in via the Truck Series broadcast, and I hope he stays.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be great. The Lime Rock layout they're running is... Here we go. They are running the classic layout.
Okay.
Because they have... The layouts they have is the Grand Prix layout, the classic layout, the chicanes layout, the West Bend chicane layout, and the school layout.
And all of them are relatively short. Well, the school
Very
layout will be explained when we get into Craftsman Truck Series news. Tonight at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta, Cup Series, we'll get into the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. That'll be on TNT. They get their first race of the year, the first of 5. PRN Radio has the radio side, starts 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. Again, for those who are relatively new to the show, with the times that we give, that's race coverage time. Pre-race tends to differ between television and radio, so I'm not going to confuse you with all that. I'm just going to get into race coverage.
And clarifying the thing earlier, after the race today, they will have 3 races left until the playoffs starts.
So today, including today, it's 4 races left.
Yes, and then Russell Branham gets the start of the Truck Series playoffs with the Sober or Slammer 200.
Well, we might need to think about heading over there.
If I don't look like a mummy still.
Formula One kicking off your Sunday slate. Got the Austrian Grand Prix on the Red Bull Ring, 10 turns, 2.68 miles long. That's airing on ESPN, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central time. That's my bad. And NHRA in action again. They're going to Ohio. They're going to run the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals, Norwalk, Ohio. The finals will be airing on Fox starting at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central time. Formula E, Indycar are off this weekend. Mentioned it real quick. Cup Series in-season tournament bracket. Producer John's got a look at it on CRN Live on YouTube. 32 drivers put up in seed order based upon the driver's performance over the past 3 races. So your 1 seed is your Michigan winner, Denny Hamlin. Your 2 seed is Pocono winner, Chase Briscoe. Which might lead you to ask the question, wait a minute, what about that guy that won the race that was in the middle of those? Shane Van Gisbergen, who won at Mexico City, right?
He's not in the tournament.
No, he missed out on making the top 32, so he ain't in the bracket. He ain't eligible to win, which makes me really want him to spoil this. And there's a good chance he can, because if you look at the schedule here,
2 of the next 3, yeah. He's got a huge chance.
We're talking Chicago Street Race and Sonoma coming up, too. So we started to look at this, and then we had some technical problems when it came to the podcast cross flag, so it shortened that up. So let's do this real quick. We were kind of wondering about it and thinking about it, and you and I made preliminary predictions, I'll say. Because the thing about this is this is just straight head-to-head. If you're looking at this bracket, example, top left corner, you got Denny Hamlin versus Ty Dillon. Top right corner is Chase Briscoe versus Noah Gragson. Well, the whole Denny Hamlin, Ty Dillon thing, in all likelihood, Denny Hamlin's going to come out on top of that at Atlanta. In all likelihood.
Theoretically.
But on the other hand, Chase Briscoe versus Noah Gragson head up. Nothing untoward, in other words, happening, which is always possible. That's a toss-up, despite it being a 2 versus 31 seed.
With in the starting lineup, Briscoe's got the edge.
Sure.
Joey Logano's got the edge in his part. Josh Berry's got the edge in his part. Ryan Blaney's got the edge. Austin Cindric barely has the edge on his.
Yeah, but if you're running a Team Penske car, which Josh Berry is as well, you're in pretty good shape starting tonight.
It's crazy to say, but Ryan Preece has got the edge on his against Byron.
Yeah.
Keselowski's got the edge on Busch. And right now, as it holds, because I said the one that has the legitimate chance of being an upset is that 528 with Chase Elliott and Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon's got the edge right now.
Yeah.
But in regards to our 132 lineup, right now, Cinderella's knocking on the door.
Go for it.
Because Ty Dillon is starting 14th and Denny Hamlin is starting 33rd.
All right. Well, let's flip it. Let's go all the way to the end here. If you're going to pick the ultimate winner based upon what you know now, who do you think is going to come out on top? And I'll go ahead and state mine because I haven't wavered from it from what I thought on Tuesday when we were getting into record mode. To me, you've got to be ultimately consistent, being able to just knock it down, to use the golf term, knock it down the fairway every single time. Mm-hmm. And the guy that has been doing that for the past couple of seasons, including this one, is Chase Elliott. Has he won? Not really, no. But this guy just keeps on racking up top 10 after top 10 with a top 5 thrown in here and there like last week. And that's what you need in this situation.
Yeah.
And that's why
really
I have to say this kind of format, for me, really does favor a guy like Chase Elliott.
I've thought about it some more, and I've shifted a little bit.
Okay.
Because of how everything lines up these first 3 rounds. And he's not terrible at Dover. Looking at the half of the bracket that he's in, I'm thinking his 16 car is going to go a long way.
It could very easily. I would agree with that.
Because he's got a prime lineup.
Mm-hmm. His strengths of Chicago and Sonoma coming up. And again, like you mentioned, he's pretty good at Dover.
He's good at Atlanta, too. He's won at Atlanta.
He has.
But time will tell.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. The tournament will last from tonight at Echo Park Speedway through the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis. All those races on TNT. Again, simple, straightforward, driver versus driver. Whoever finishes higher in that particular race wins that matchup. They move on. The overall winner claims $1 million. That's it.
Yep.
By the way, as for TNT Sports, if you happen to be in the situation that I'm in, I have cut the cable, cut the satellite. I'm only using streaming. You might be in luck. TNT Sports is available through the Max streaming service, so you can get it there. All practice and qualifying sessions available through the same path. And by the way, Max continues to have that in-car camera of the viewer's choice through the remainder of the season as well. So all of your next 5 races, you can get anything and every angle you could possibly want just by going through the Max service.
Right.
All right. I got to admit, I was not expecting this. I was wondering.
I was.
I was wondering about it because of the fact that we have been talking about this charter situation with Rick Ware Racing. But to get the news we got this week was a little bit surprising to me.
And one of these quotes that he's got in this gentleman has in his statement, I think he's, yeah.
Right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Heflin.
Action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. Keith with a sharp eye there talking on the chat there on CRN Live on YouTube, noting how Echo Park is getting their money's worth because of the rain delay. That was timely.
Extremely.
Got a lot of logo shots there on top. But that's the whole point. I mean, that's the reason why Echo Park bought into it. It's why Lowe's at one point in time sponsored the Charlotte Motor Speedway, was the title sponsor there. It's why, we've seen different names for Sonoma. You get those situations, and they are trying to get their name out.
Sears Point, Infineon.
Yeah. Auto Club Speedway.
Auto Club.
What used to be Fontana.
Auto Club Speedway at Fontana.
Yeah.
Lowe's
Right.
Motor Speedway at Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we call it Echo Park Speedway at Atlanta?
Because they paid enough to where we just dropped the Atlanta altogether.
Well, Marcus, when the Smith family owns Echo Park, they just pretty much do what they want to.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't blame them. Get it out there. I mean, it's all about the branding in this world. I got to admit, I was wondering about this, but I didn't really know that Rick Ware Racing was actually for sale. At least the NASCAR arm of it anyway. Let's face it, he's got his toes dipped into the NHRA, which we'll talk about in a bit too, and he's also a little bit in Indycar and other forms of racing, but the NASCAR arm of it apparently is being sold, according to the Associated Press. They reported Friday that TJ Pusher, who co-founded Spire Motorsports, has an agreement now to purchase the NASCAR side of Rick Ware Racing. said he's going to get back into team ownership. We'll dive into that in a minute, because he believes that charters are highly undervalued. Wasn't it just last week that we talked about how the initial agreement between Rick Ware Racing and Legacy MC to sell them a charter was for $45 million?
That is correct.
Undervalued. Okay.
That's it.
Well, let's dive into this further, shall we? He and Jeff Dickerson formed up Spire Motorsports in 2018, took over the charter that belonged then to Furniture Row Racing. They had a hard time selling it back then. Think about that. Furniture Row Racing had a hard time selling a charter back then. If Junior Motorsports was going to get into the Cup Series racing, that would have been the primetime opportunity right there.
Yeah, it would have, considering it sold for probably like 6 or 8 million.
I was thinking 5 to 10 tops. That's the window to me. I'm not exactly sure what that number was. In the deal, Pusher says he's going to keep Ware on as a partner. He's going to keep on all the Rick Ware Racing employees as well.
Good
and
move.
Cody is set to remain in the number 51 car.
Bad move. Bad move.
Good luck with that. He adds, quote, I'm bullish on wanting to build a 3-car team. I believe in the France family and the direction of the sport, and I want the rest of the shareholders and industry to know that I believe the charters are worth, get this, boys and girls, $75 million or more.
Can I have whatever you're drinking?
Now, I get it. Tampa Bay Rays, Devil Rays, whatever you want to call them, baseball team, they just sold. Or they have an agreement to sell to an Orlando businessman for about $1.5 billion. That's relatively cheap, because just about 2 or 3 weeks before that, the Buss family agreed to sell the Los Angeles Lakers NBA basketball team for the princely sum of $10.5 billion. But
there's a tie into this here. There's a tie into this here.
all right, but let's go back to the beginnings of this charter thing.
Yeah.
Spire gets into this with Furniture Row at a number that we're pretty certain was somewhere between $5 and $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Spire bought a charter. What was it, last year?
Spire bought the charter of BJ McLeod
For $25 million.
No, 40.
Or $40 million. I'm sorry, $40 million. And you and I, we popped our eyeballs out at that.
40.
And then Stuart Haas sells 3 of the 4 charters, keeping 1 to form the Haas factory team. And those are believed to have sold for $20 million. Although that's still up for grabs because of the court case that we'll get back to in a minute.
Yeah.
So, okay, so between $20 and $40 million is an area that we thought, okay, that's probably where it's going to settle. Now he wants to push it to $75 million, which brought me to the question of, how the heck is he getting this money? And then you made this make a little bit more sense to me in the fact of why he's not with Spire anymore. And I didn't think about it until you put the dots together.
Because Dan Taurus, remember that name, kids? He bought out TJ Pusher's part. Dan Taurus is the CEO of TWG.
Formerly known as Andretti.
Formerly known as Andretti Global. Yeah. Which he is the CEO and president of Gainbridge. Check. Route 1001. Check.
Yeah.
Delaware Life. Check.
Now we know where Mr. Pusher's got his money.
And there's a tie-in too, where TWG has all this stinking money. The new owner of the Lakers, there's a co-owner of the Dodgers, Mark Walter, is associated with TWG Holdings.
It's amazing how all this kind of comes together, isn't it? But if you want to know where Pusher's getting his money for this and believes that a charter is worth $75 million or more, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Everything's for sale for a price, as the old saying goes. If Pusher comes up to the right person with $75 million and offers to buy the charter, there's going to be some teams that are going to go, you know what? I got to take that.
There will be some $75 million. There will be some of the mid-tier, lower-tier teams. Let me phrase that very carefully.
It's not happening at Hendrick. It's not happening at Gibbs. It's not happening at Penske. We'll just state that right up front. There are others too, but I'm just going to go with those.
It won't happen at RCR. It won't happen at Spire.
No.
It won't happen at RFK.
No.
Some of the mid to lower tier teams. Here, I want to buy that charter for $75 million. Here, let me furnish you the pen.
Exactly.
Here's the pen. Here's the paper. Let me give you a golden plate to put it on there to write it with.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
a golden clipboard.
Here's the other thing. This does appear to answer what might happen to that leased charter that currently Rick Ware has leased to RFK Racing for Ryan Preece and the number 60. Because, as we have said, you lease out a charter at the end of that particular next year, which, again, at the end of this season, Rick Ware Racing has to do one of two things with it. Or now, I guess it would be TJ Pusher if this whole thing does go through like they say that it will. He has to make a decision. He either has to use that charter or he has to sell it. With a desire to go to a 3-car team, it appears he's going to use it.
See, this throws, which is... I don't see him going to a 3-car team right off the bat.
It's not going to happen the way that he wants to. Again, he expects to bring that charter back. He'll have to settle that legal battle that we were talking about with Legacy MC over the potential sale of a charter to them. Says that he wants to buy a third charter and wants to be a 3-charter team for the 2027 season. That's rapid fire.
But arguably, that 60 car has pulled the weight for RFK this year.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Brad and Jack are not letting that charter go that easy. They will buy that charter before Pusher has a chance to.
I would think.
They will buy that charter outright.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, unless Pusher has the ultimate veto power on that, and I'm not sure that he does right now.
No. Rick Ware was like, hey, I'll take the money right here. Let's just build this up a little further. Why don't we?
Yeah.
You know, but it's just... The only place, see, unless they're sitting here thinking, let me backtrack.
All right.
There's only one place that I could see a charter, only one. Because I don't see Matt Collick selling anything.
No.
And Legacy's not, because Legacy's on the upswing.
Yeah.
If anything, Trackhouse is a firm hard no.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. So, Inspire, they're not. You know good and well Dickerson's not going to do it.
No.
So that really leaves only possibly 2.
Yeah.
Possibly 2.
How much does Gene Haas want to continue?
That's one.
That's the big question for me. And I have to admit, I've been wondering that myself, because I was... remember the initial thought when Stewart Haas Racing said we're not going to be in existence anymore after the 2024 season. We had been told all 4 charters were going to be up for sale.
Yeah, but Gene Haas said, hey, time out.
Yeah, and then Gene Haas said, hey, I've got a way to advertise my own company, which it's not hurting anyway, but, you know, so he kept one. But...
pending on how this...
I don't know.
And this is how I'm going to say it. Pending on how this garbage goes, well, this lawsuit junk, which y'all need to go to your room, get your toys out and play it and get it done and over with, because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. It's nuts.
The one place I could see that charter coming from being bought, because I don't see RFK letting that charter go back to them that easy.
No. Especially not, which they should have. If they didn't, they should have an option to buy in there, in that contract for the lease.
Hayek.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, they just rebranded, I get it, but at the same time...
Because Gibbs ain't letting it go.
No, Gibbs is.
Trackhouse ain't.
No.
Spire's not.
Hendrick is not.
Hendrick's not.
Penske's not.
Legacy Motor Club's not.
No. I don't really see 2311, not with all this battle that 2311 and Front Row are going through.
But
I don't see them doing it.
Not when Riley Herbst's family, and it's out there, go find it.
Yeah.
When Riley Herbst's family throws money out with Denny Hamlin and Jordan to buy the charter for Riley.
Yeah.
Nah, they're not.
I don't see it happening.
So, unless they can make a major return on their investment. So, and that's the only legitimate play, one or two places. Haas or Hayek.
We'll see.
That's the only solo charter teams out there because you Wood Brothers, no.
Heck no.
They're not going anywhere because they're on the major upswing because now that we found out that it wasn't the driver. I mean, it wasn't the car.
It was the driver.
It was the driver problem.
Yep.
You know, that explained that stuff quick.
Yeah.
That debunked that theory in a hurry.
Josh Berry with a win already this year and starting on the front row in a dead-footed qualifying time tie with Joey Logano. Joey Logano posted it first. That's, or no, it was done on points.
Barry posted it first.
It was done on points.
Logano got the pole based on owner points.
Yeah, that was what it was. I'm sorry. It used to be based upon who did it first.
Yes.
Now it's based upon owner points.
Correct.
I forgot about that. But yeah, it's none of those, because we've been watching this for a long time. You go back into the late 80s when we started to get these multi-car teams coming up, and in the 90s when that exploded. You know, and up until last year, we had three teams that were 4-car teams, and then Team Penske, which was the 3-car team, and we were wondering if and when RFK was going to go back to 3, because it used to be, I mean, heck, Roush used to be a 5-car team. That's why we got the limit of 4.
Yeah.
And now they've instituted this limit of 3, but they've grandfathered in Gibbs and Hendrick.
Because the last two people you're going to tell, oh, you can't have another fourth car is Joe Gibbs and Rick Hendrick.
Exactly.
You're not telling them
You're
that.
not going to tell them that.
No.
So they're going to stick with that as long as they can. But now the single car team is going the way of the dodo bird. It is going to go extinct. And all it's going to take is somebody like Pusher to come up and go, here, $75 million for your charter. Sold. See ya.
Bye.
Lock, stock, and barrel. Here's the keys. Go change the signs. Go do whatever you got to do. I'm out. I ain't got nothing to do with this anymore. Sign on the dotted line and mail it to me.
You keep your 51 charter. You go buy the Hayek charter. You merge it together. Boom. There you go.
Yeah. And if you really want a third car, then go start talking to Gene Haas. Go see what you can do. Gene Haas is a wheeler dealer. You know, he's finally got to the point where he doesn't have to pay out of pocket for Haas F1, so he's more than happy to keep Haas F1 rolling along. You want to talk about good advertising for your business on a worldwide scale? That's it.
Bingo.
I mean, sorry, Cole Custer, but where you're running, it's not the greatest advertising for Haas Automation.
Starting top 10 tomorrow. Today.
We'll see what happens.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. Steve West, Matt Nicholson with you. Of course, producer John on CRN Live on YouTube, participating in the chat. Dude, you write that check. I can't imagine how high that thing's going to bounce, just saying. And it'd be the same way for me. I'll be real honest with you. That'd be one massively rubber check. I'm just going to say.
Yep.
All right, this lawsuit thing. Again, and Matt was right when he said it last segment. Get into a room, and you two, or you three, because 2311 in front row on one side with NASCAR on the other, you three, figure it out. Here's the latest. U.S. District Judge Kenneth Bell has ordered the teams not directly involved in that 2311 in front row versus NASCAR lawsuit to provide financials dating back 11 years, but at the same time took care to very carefully limit the information that they had to divulge. Bell said in his ruling that the data will, quote, allow NASCAR to have much of the arguably relevant substance of the requested information while protecting its legitimate interests of the teams, 12 of them in all. Wow, that's lawyer speak. Mm-hmm. The teams that argued en masse that having to give those financial details could actually hurt the competitive balance of the series as a whole. So taking that into account, this ruling states the teams need to provide only the following information: bottom line total revenue, their total costs, and their net profits. They don't have to detail what goes to what. They just have to give basics. The teams in NASCAR were asked to find one independent accounting firm that can handle those details, and that NASCAR will be on the hook to pay for those services. All the teams need to do is provide the data, and then NASCAR has to compile it into something that is workable at their expense.
It now seems, and it's clear, that even the district judge presiding over everything is now getting frustrated with it. Mm-hmm. Because he sees it as pointless.
Yeah. I mean, he is flat out, as we talked about on this show last week, ordered the teams, it would be in your best interest to sit down and figure this thing out instead of dragging it out. And now he has pretty much said, okay, let's just go ahead and put all the cards on the table here, but maybe try to eliminate as much detail as we possibly can. Because I'll be honest with you, if we were to look into the annual budget, and I'll just pull Hendrick Motorsports as the example, and do a line-by-line budget of Hendrick Motorsports, you would go blind looking at all the numbers.
That you would, sir.
That'd be nuts.
Yep.
All of this is part of the argument of 2311 in front row specifically, but other teams have in the past expressed similar concerns that NASCAR's financials are not viable long-term and that the teams need a bigger portion of the overall NASCAR revenue each and every year, and a little bit more permanent status of the charters. All the teams have actually expressed that. Thing about it is, both of which either have expiration dates or can be revoked by NASCAR, or both, with little to no warnings for the teams, because NASCAR technically owns the charters. Even though they're sellable from one team to the other right now, if NASCAR chooses to, they can revoke a charter under certain rules.
Yeah, but they're all about saving money and being cost-cutting.
Right.
We're sending them to Mexico, or we got to cut costs. We're talking about sending them overseas to Europe or South America, or we're cutting costs.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving the teams kit cars that are bolted together
from single source
parts.
From single source parts,
which drives costs up automatically.
Yeah, because they have the market to themselves. They can set the price. Competition is out the door.
But we're cutting costs.
Good luck with that.
Sure.
Hey, remember us talking about how Tab Boyd got fired last week from Hayek Motorsports?
I'm pretty sure he landed quite softly.
He's in that situation that I could say that I was, not quite a decade ago. In 2017, when I left one job and took another one, I fell upstairs.
Yeah, he definitely fell upstairs, for sure.
Former Hayek Motorsports spotter Tab Boyd, who was fired from that team for expressing his opinion on Mexico City based upon his own experience at the hotel that NASCAR set up for his and the other teams, had little problem finding a job. at Joe Gibbs Racing. Okay, then. He's been installed as the spotter for Christopher Bell in the number 20 Toyota. Boyd takes over for former Bell spotter Stevie Reeves, who abruptly left the organization recently. I heard they had to have a fill-in, I guess, after Reeves left, and
Matthew Philpott.
And now Boyd takes over, so he becomes Bell's third spotter this year. That doesn't happen all that often.
I don't think Philpott was working out really well for Bell.
Probably not. I don't think he was ever really meant to be full-time in that position anyway, was he?
He was supposed to be.
Was he? Okay.
But when you go from spotting for Joey Gase, let me repeat that. When you go spotting from Joey Gase.
And if you're asking yourself, who? That should tell you a lot.
And you got Tab Boyd sitting there. Hey, Tab.
Uh-huh.
We need some help.
Yeah. I imagine that phone call happened real quick.
I'm sure it did.
Two-time Daytona 500 winner turned Fox Sports NASCAR analyst Michael Waltrip has become a team owner again, but not in NASCAR. The one-time owner of Michael Waltrip Racing, remember them kids? He's become a minority partner of the Nashville Cats of the Arena Football League, one of the league's founding franchises. I got to admit, I didn't realize Arena Football League was still in existence, but it is.
He got revived.
It's an all-star ownership group featuring former NFL head coaches John Gruden and Jeff Fisher. Fisher listed as the majority owner. In addition to Waltrip joining the ownership group, his other interest, Michael Waltrip Brewing, has become the official craft brewery of the franchise. Wonder how many times he's going to wear a Nashville Cats hat on the Fox broadcast.
Well, I mean, the little breweries he's got is expanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's grown
Concord,
from
Bristol. He's got one in Concord, Bristol.
He's got one up in the Smoky Mountains.
There's one opened up in Gatlinburg, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I remember seeing it. So yeah, he's gonna open one up, I'm sure, over in Nashville now, and he'll continue to expand it out. Sad news from the world of NASCAR this week. Heard about the passing of former Cup Series team owner Larry McClure. McClure, a Virginia native, got into car dealership ownership with several locations in southwestern Virginia in his time. He and his partner Tim Morgan and brother Jerry McClure started up Morgan McClure Motorsports for the 1983 season. Purchased a Cup car from G.C. Spencer. Debuted at Talladega with driver Connie Saylor, but they finished 40th on the day, had an engine failure. So they fired Saylor, switched the car to the number 4, and returned with a young driver by the name of Mark Martin. Claimed a top 10 finish by the year's end. Then they got sponsorship from Folgers Coffee for the 1984 and 1985 seasons. Used a number of drivers over that time. Tommy Ellis, Lenny Pond, Joe Ruttman among them. Ruttman the most successful of those. Got a top 5 and 4 top 10 finishes. So when in 1986 Folgers went to another car, Morgan McClure was able to sign on Eastman Kodak as their primary sponsor. Signed driver Rick Wilson. Wilson claimed the team's first pole position in 1988 at Bristol. It was the first full-time season for the team. 1989 drove the car to 8th in final points. 1990 the team started off with Phil Parsons, but only 3 races in switched to Ernie Irvin, who immediately claimed a top 5. Midway through the season, the team, which had been using Oldsmobile, had switched to Chevrolet, launched the team to their first win. Irvin claimed that win at Bristol. The next year, Irvin claims the Daytona 500 and a win at Watkins Glen, and 5th in the final points that 1991 season.
Our home track.
1992, the team won 3 more races. Began in 1994 in the same vein. 2 poles, the win at Talladega, but the death of Davey Allison changed a whole lot that year. Robert Yates asked Irvin to take Allison's old seat. Morgan McClure turned to Sterling Marlin, but of course there was a long drawn-out lawsuit between Irvin and the team that resulted in pretty bad feelings on both sides. Seemed to work out for them with Sterling Marlin, though. Marlin turned around, won the 1994 Daytona 500, besting Irvin for it, and then won back-to-back. 1995 Daytona 500 as well, several other races too. But in 1997, the team went winless. Marlin dropped to 25th in points, so the team split with him, went with driver Bobby Hamilton for 1997. Claimed 1 win that year, finished 10th in points, but success started to elude from that point in time. They went from Hamilton to Robbie Gordon, then they went to Mike Skinner, go to Kevin LePage, all in quick succession. They tried going to Pontiac in 2003, but when Pontiac pulled out of NASCAR at the end of the year, they went back to Chevrolet. Jimmy Spencer drove for them in 2004. They had a second part-time car for Eric McClure, Larry's son. In 2005, they were able to sign on new sponsor Lucas Oil with driver Mike Wallace. that didn't even last the whole year. He was replaced in select races by the likes of John Andretti and or P.J. Jones before the team finally turned to Scott Wimmer in 2006. Wimmer got replaced by Todd Bodine and then Ward Burton. Ward Burton continued on with the team in 2007, but over that offseason, 2007 to 2008, the team pretty much got shut down. They continued to try to find sponsorship for a part-time effort, but their time was gone. Attempts to get into the 2008 and 2009 Daytona 500s, the Aaron's 499 at Talladega in 2009 all fell through either due to lack of sponsorship or failure to qualify. And Larry McClure would ultimately get himself into legal trouble, charged with federal tax income evasion, reportedly not reporting the money for cars used in the ARCA Menard series, as we would call it today. Had to pay back former sponsor Eastman Kodak some $60,000 for falsifying an invoice, and he would spend ultimately some 18 months in jail. Larry McClure passed away on Wednesday morning at Johnston Memorial Hospital in Abington, Virginia. His cause of death not divulged, but Larry McClure was, after all, 81 years old. Rest in peace. I remember Morgan McClure racing very, very well, especially with Sterling Marlin. Those back-to-back Daytona 500 wins put that team on the forefront. They were on the front page.
The absolute... They were... early to mid-90s, they were, anytime you saw that Kodak car unloaded at Super Speedway, you know that was the bullet to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people really don't know this, but back when Dad was a part of Stanley Smith's team in 1992, when Stanley's based out of Chelsea, they were the de facto satellite team of Morgan McClure. They got all their cars from Morgan McClure. They got their engines from Morgan McClure, because I vividly remember those engines sitting in Stanley's car that had MM on the valve cover, Morgan McClure. A couple of times when I was at Talladega with them, their head engine builder, Runt Pittman, which Runt built some absolute missiles for super speedway engines, would come over and do the engine tuning. And the one time that Stanley out-qualified the 4-car at Talladega, after the race, after qualifying, they come over and done the engine swap. Ernie went on to win that race. And with the same spoiler that Dad built for the car. Like, hey, we want that spoiler in that motor. So they swapped. I think that race Stanley got caught up in an accident. And Ernie went on to win the race with the motor and the spoiler.
There you go.
But every time that I had an interaction with Larry, it was always positive. Larry's a good guy.
Yep. He will be missed, that's for sure. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some Xfinity Series news. We'll talk a little bit about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his experience as a crew chief last week at Pocono. Plus, mentioned it during the race recap, Hendrick Motorsports number 17 car driven last weekend by Chase Elliott. Yeah, that finish that they got has a big asterisk beside it. Just put it that way.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Pocono Speedway, sitting in the grandstands.
He could have been sitting in one of the suites of the boxes up top and still had radio contact.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a Howard card to get up there in that part.
Exactly. And he could hold a radio from this is what I heard from Larry McReynolds. He could have a radio on. He couldn't participate in the communication, but he could have a radio and he could text. That was what was allowed. He could be texting with Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Steve Letarte or whoever the heck he wanted to text with.
Which they probably could have been linked up in the Hendrick War Room doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
so I mean the suspension was just, hey, you can't be in direct contact with the war wagon is effectively all that it was.
But everybody's got so technologically advanced with how they handle stuff at the track nowadays.
Yeah.
That suspension, whatever.
Suspension's toothless for all intents and purposes.
Exactly.
NASCAR slapped Hendrick Motorsports with an L1 level penalty for the number 17 car they used last weekend at Pocono, driven by Chase Elliott. NASCAR cited sections 14.3.3.2.1.1 subsections K and L. Not going to read the whole thing. It deals with the main frame rails of the race car. According to NASCAR's penalty ruling, the team modified them in a way that they didn't detail, but it turned out to be illegal. 17 cars been penalized, 40 owner points and 10 playoff points, but since it's a part-time car, that second part doesn't matter. In addition, the team's been fined $40,000. Crew chief Adam Wall suspended for 3 races. The team has said they won't appeal the penalties. I'm shocked.
That means they did it on purpose.
Yeah, number one. And number two, when's the next time they're planning on running that 17 car? Who cares, right? Pull somebody off the bench. Let them be. Hell, they could pull me off and let me be the crew chief for a race. What's it going to matter?
Hey, Chad, considering that I know you, I'll call the race.
Sure. I mean, heck, if Junior can have Steve Letarte in his ear, I'm certain Hendrick Motorsports can find somebody who knows more than me or Matt to be able to go up there and sit in the war wagon and call the shots, right?
I mean, I've got to do. Fun fact for everybody. I do have a connection and do know Chad Canal, so I could do the pull of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and have Chad sitting behind me like, hey, do this, do this, do that.
Come on, let's go.
And I get the credit for the win.
Yeah.
Cheek.
1 for 1, Matt Nicholson. Let's see. Junior Motorsports set to field cars for both Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen at the Chicago Street Race today. Zilisch, not a surprise. He's full-time NASCAR or Xfinity Series driver. But he's going to get a special look. He is a Red Bull driver. And he's going to get Red Bull sponsorship for the race. In addition, SVG and the number 9 Chevrolet, his longtime sponsor WeatherTech, coming along for the ride. He'll appear on the 88 car for Connor Zilisch as well. Wanted to say I had a picture for that, but apparently I don't. I apologize for that.
It's neat how I think it's neat how they're doing this.
Yeah.
Both of them have the sponsorship from Red Bull and WeatherTech.
Yeah.
On Zilich's car, Red Bull has the primary on the hood and WeatherTech on the quarters. On Gisbergen's car, WeatherTech's got the primary on the hood and Red Bull's on the quarters.
Yeah.
It's a reverse flip scheme, which I think is pretty cool. It looks sharp.
They did look sharp. I'm sorry I didn't get the picture for it. That's on me, and I apologize to producer John and to everybody watching on CRN Live on YouTube. Then there's Australian Supercars driver Jack Perkins. Perkins had a seat with Joe Gibbs Racing to run their number 19 Toyota Supra at Portland coming up in late August with sponsorship from Shaw and Partners. Well, as he was preparing to go from his home in Melbourne, Australia, to go race in the Darwin Triple Crown, his traveling began with a text from Joe Gibbs Racing. They offered him another ride in the same car in the Chicago Street Course race. He said, quote, I was ready to settle in for a quiet flight, but JGR's message quickly changed that. Took me years to finally put together the Portland deal, and now here I am with an opportunity to race in Chicago next weekend with an offer that required an answer in just a few hours as I'm boarding a 4-hour flight to Darwin. So Perkins got on the line, called up his friends over at Shaw and Partners, his sponsor. CEO Carl Evans took Perkins' call. Must be nice to have high connections. Told media, quote, Jack called, said that he had something for me to ponder over the next 4 hours. I told him, I don't ponder, I make decisions. So when he revealed the opportunity, it was too good to turn down. So through airline Wi-Fi, Perkins got to working with Joe Gibbs Racing and Shaw and Partners over the entire 4-hour flight from Melbourne to Darwin. And by the time they landed, he was ready to go, and he will be in next weekend's Chicago Street Course race.
Well, Darwin back to Melbourne, board that A380 from Melbourne to LA to Chicago, get in the car and go.
Get yourself one of those nice, cushy, up front seats that turns into a bed.
There's not a bad seat on my A380.
I'm just saying. Get the one that turns into a bed, man. It'll be worth it. Let's see. As we turn our attention over to the Craftsman Truck Series road course ringers, kind of used to be the norm in Cup Series racing. We heard about it all the time, but while Cup racers are obviously taking those road course races much more seriously, let's face it, we got 6 of them, sometimes 7 in a year, they still are kind of thing as you start to get into the lower divisions of NASCAR. Today at Lime Rock, one ringer is going to make his Truck Series debut. You may have heard the name if you like to watch sports car racing. Jordan Taylor.
Game over. Game over.
Taylor comes over from the IMSA WeatherTech Series, where he has been a 4-time champion. He's also a class-winning driver in the famed 24 Hours Le Mans. He races for Wayne Taylor Racing. He'll join with Spire Motorsports, going to drive the number 7 Chevrolet pickup truck with sponsorship from... Oh, didn't we talk about Gainbridge before?
Ta-da.
Taylor says that this week he was looking forward to the chance. Quote, I'm eager to join Spire Motorsports. I have spoken with a few members of the team for a few years now, so it's great that things have finally come together. I know it's going to be tough jumping into the series mid-season, but I know I'm joining one of the top teams in the truck series. Our Gainbridge Chevrolet Silverado will for sure be competitive. How competitive?
And just only fastest in practice yesterday.
Huh. I just hope I can adapt to the truck quickly on a short weekend. Check. Lime Rock Park is a track that I know really well, but obviously all my experience around there is much different types of cars, so I'm looking forward to the new challenge. Taylor has 3 NASCAR races to his credit, all of them in 2023. 2 Xfinity Series starts at Portland, got a Cup Series start at COTA that year. Yeah, I'd say he adapted pretty well.
Game over.
Predicting the win right now? Okay.
Pole and the win. Lime Rock is going to be the little bit that I saw yesterday. Lime Rock is going to be brutally hard to pass.
Yeah.
So whoever gets out front and has best or has best track position,
golden.
You're sitting in the catbird seat on a golden cushion.
Let's see. Let's check on that. By the way, when does trucks and I think F1 are qualifying this morning, aren't they?
F1 starts at like 10, I think.
Okay. Check on the truck series real quick and find out.
Trucks schedule Saturday. Why do I have to go to 2 pages? Just download the PDF. Here we go. Qualifying starts has already started.
Okay. Try and get an update here in a minute.
Well, considering I'm running a low power on the computer, I'm going to do this little number right here.
Probably a good call. Spencer Boyd's cell phone number 76 trucks gotten a bit of a financial shot in the arm. They announced that My Auto Store is signed on as a partner through the remainder of the 2025 season. They'll have at least one appearance as the primary sponsor. That'll be at Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. The possibility that it might happen more, too. In case you've never heard of them, My Auto Store is apparently an OEM parts recycler, original equipment manufacturer, for those who don't know what that means. They offer more than 200,000 parts through their website, parts for the interior, exterior, and under the hood of pretty much any vehicle you can think of. Companies based out of Camden, New Jersey, reportedly offers free shipping and 6-month warranty on the parts, not the installation. That's on you. Mention the fact that he was wondering about the whole school part of it when it came to the layouts at Lime Rock Park. Well, you probably heard of the Skip Barber Racing School. Pretty famous. If you're into racing for any particular length of time. By the way, Skip Barber Racing School, not to be confused with Barber Motorsports Park, 2 different Barbers. With the truck series at Lime Rock Park, it kind of seemed the appropriate time for the Skip Barber Racing to return to NASCAR partnership since they're racing at the track that the Skip Barber Racing School got its start. The school layout. School's name and color is going to appear on the 02 Ford F-Series truck fielded by the Rayom Brothers Racing team. Will Lambros, speaking of road course ringers, behind the wheel. Lambros, a longtime member of the Skip Barber Racing School, began at the school at the ripe old age of 14. He's since racing in the Skip Barber Race Series, TC America, powered by Skip Barber, and the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. This is the second year that Skip Barber Racing has sponsored a Rayom Brothers truck. They sponsored the 22 truck last year at Circuit of the Americas, put Director of Instructors Carter Fartook behind the wheel over the course of the race. He avoided problems, gained 9 positions from start to finish. Rayom Brothers has also announced Alex LeBay is going to run the number 22 truck at Lime Rock. So, yeah, they're going pretty much all road course ringers over there at Rayom Brothers. Okay.
There's a reason why I said game over.
Jordan Taylor making a laugher out of this.
6 minutes left to go in qualifying, 6:45 left to go in qualifying, and Taylor is 3 full tenths quicker than second place.
And who's second place?
That'd be Corey Heim. Corey Heim's on the track right now.
Oh, my gosh.
Top 10 right now as it stands. Taylor, Heim, Riggs, Honeycutt, Mozak, Perez, Brent Cruz. Brent Cruz will be decent. Majeski, Annunziata, and Gio Ruggiero.
All right. Another name you might hear, then again, you might not. A couple of other driver announcements. One of them, Wesley Slimp. Who? Wesley Slimp, running the number 62 Toyota for Hallmar Friesen Racing. It's easy for me to say. Sponsorship coming from HTNB. Slimp is a Georgia native, usually races in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America Series, so he's familiar with Lime Rock Park. Young's Motorsports has announced that their Chevrolet Silverado, the 02 on the side, going to be driven by Ben Mayer. Mayer's raced in Stadium Super Trucks, Trans Am, Cars Tour, and Travis Pastrana's Nitro Cross Series. This will be his Craftsman Truck Series debut. He'll be sponsored by Executive Chevrolet. When was the last time we talked about how local car dealerships sponsoring a one-race deal at a local track?
Not surprising.
Executive Chevrolet is a local Chevrolet dealership close to Lime Rock Park in Connecticut.
Well, that just changed.
All right, what you got?
I'm just bumped up to P1, just a 115 to a 294. So he is a little bit 2 tenths quicker than Taylor. But Taylor will take him to school.
I was about to say, Jordan Taylor's about to go back out and reset his time. So.
Yeah, he's got 5 minutes left. I think he'll go out and be pretty good.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. NASCAR Channel, by the way, announced a collaboration with Flow Sports. They're set to air 7 live events through the end of the 2025 season on that free channel. We'll tell you how to get it in a second. Among the events shown, 2 U.S. Legends Cars events at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Arca Menards West General Tire 200 at Sonoma when the Cup Series heads there for that weekend. In October, they'll air the Whelen Modified Tour race at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. And they'll also air qualifying, not the race necessarily, but they certainly will air qualifying on the NASCAR Channel for the Snowball Derby at Five Flags Speedway in early December. NASCAR Channel is continuing to expand out with live original programming, now not only available on Tubi, they're available on Xumo Play, Samsung TV Plus, and via Amazon Prime Video. You need no subscription or registration to watch. Tubi's free on a streaming service. But I also have Amazon Prime, so that works.
Nice.
I like that. I mean, they're simulcasting the SiriusXM Satellite Radio NASCAR Channel's morning show on the NASCAR Channel. Now you're getting this. They're putting more and more live and original programming on there. This is going to be something that we're going to have to watch over the course of time.
Yeah, it'll be good.
And one more bit of racing news before we just generalize racing news before we take a break here. And it's about that time for the annual sports awards, the ESPY Awards from ESPN. They're set to be handed out next month. You, by the way, can vote for them if you go onto ESPN.com and search ESPY. It's a fan-voted thing. We've noted each year of this show that they do have a best driver category as voted on by the fans. Nominees this year, NASCAR Cup Series champion Joey Logano. This will be his 3rd title. Formula One competitors, Oscar Piastri, who is in the driver's seat this year for the championship, and your 4-time defending champion Max Verstappen. There's also defending IndyCar champ Alex Palou, who looks to be easily defending that title. Interestingly, no NHRA this year, because we got 2 F1 drivers. The awards will be announced on July 16th in a ceremony in Los Angeles, so I would imagine voting will happen up until probably just a couple of days before that.
I think so, yeah.
Of those, who are you thinking?
I'll be surprised if it goes against Verstappen.
I have a hard time going against it because you won it 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's Logano's 3rd one, but
Yep. That's
I
that's
think
a hard time going against him.
if and I'll probably end up placing my vote for this. I don't vote for many of the categories in the ESPY Awards, but I do generally tend to vote in the best driver one just to put my voice in there. I'll probably go Verstappen.
Yeah.
Probably will. All right. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to switch our attention over to IndyCar. One of those Team Penske executives, it's kind of like the whole Tab Boyd thing. One of those Team Penske executives that got fired in the recent purge over there, he's already landed a job. We'll talk about that. And we'll get into the whole thing of Santino Ferrucci being able to chug a beer on the track. It was after the race was over. Plus, I got a review of F1 the movie. All that and more before we wrap up this edition of the show.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. To the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Before we get into IndyCar news, okay, latest from Lime Rock Park.
Corey Heim slipped up and knocked Jordan Taylor off the pole. Lane Riggs up to third. Majeski fourth. Brent Cruz fifth. Honeycutt sixth. Carruth up to seventh. Mozak eighth. Chandler Smith ninth. And Andres Perez 10th.
All right. What it's really going to boil down to then is probably the jump off the start and then who has better pit stops.
Yep. Thomas Annunziata is 13th. And Cam Waters. I'm surprised he wasn't any higher. He's the 16th.
Yeah, seems a little low for him.
Yep. So, Corey, get ready to get took to school.
Yeah, I think it's about to happen. One of the former Team Penske executives that got fired after the latest scandal hit the team has been hired by one of his rival IndyCar operations. His name, Kyle Moyer. Kyle Moyer got hired by Arrow McLaren Racing, joins back up with Tony Kanaan. Moyer was Kanaan's team manager at one point in time in his career. Moyer is set to become Arrow McLaren's director of competition. He will report directly to the director of race operations, Scott Harner, and replace Kanaan as the race strategist for Nolan Siegel, and that will allow Dixon to then once again begin to work with all three drivers. That was basically the initial plans for Kanaan. He was going to be basically a driver coach. So now he gets to get back to that. So, all right. We actually have a picture of this, and I found it funny. Noted in the race recap that AJ Foyt Racing driver Santino Ferrucci claimed third place last weekend at Road America, got out of his racer in turn one and was waving at the fans in the grandstands there. Why? We'll tell you in a second. One of the fans actually tossed him a cold beer, and he chugged it.
Good for him.
All right, so why did he stop in turn one? Well, it was on the cool-down lap, but his car ran out of fuel, so he just coasted to the stop in the turn. Ferrucci, who's been on a hot streak of his own lately, this one marking his fourth straight top five finish, putting him ninth in the points after Road America, got out of the car, started waving at the fans, having a good time, and first a fan tossed a bottle of water. Ferrucci got it out of the sand trap because it overshot him, chugged most of that in one long pull, and then another fan looked at him and said, "Here, have a beer." It was a better throw. Ferrucci caught that, and he opened it up and chugged it too. That right there stuff will make you a very popular driver.
Apparently, F1 has already started. The time's off.
All right. Q1 or what?
Yeah, they just ended Q1.
All right.
They're in a break.
Let's talk about what's going on in F1.
Let me go to the timing and scoring.
Okay.
Oh, I don't want to customize my experience. I know. Good grief. Next.
They always ask for those menu of stuff. Just give me what I asked for.
Skip. Continue without saving. Thank you. Live coverage. Here we go. Where's timing and scoring? Lord have mercy, Jesus. They read it. Woo.
Yeah.
This app has updated tenfold.
Yeah, and not necessarily for the better. I've seen the update.
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh, here we go.
It's harder to navigate than ever before.
Leaderboard. First five out. From 20 to 16, Hulkenberg,
Ooh.
Sainz, Sonoda, Ocon, and Stroll. Advancing from 15 to 1, Colapinto, Oliver Behrman, Alonso, Leclerc, Russell, Antonelli, Albon 9th, Bortoletto 8th.
Wow.
Hamilton 7th, Verstappen 6th. Did anybody have this on their bingo card, having the Xfinity cars of Red Bull outrun the Cup team at the home track?
Nope.
Isaac Hadjar 5th.
Wow.
Gasly 4th.
Okay.
Liam Lawson 3rd.
True.
And the McLaren's Piastri 2nd. Norris 1st.
Remind me, didn't Red Bull trade off Yuki Tsunoda for Liam Lawson earlier this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Good call, Red Bull. Good call.
As always, they're
overreacting and
as
way too
always
fast.
Their helmet, Marco, classy advisor.
Yeah. Stop advising.
Yeah, just go home.
2026 IndyCar schedule still not known in full. What we do know this though, Thermal Club not going to be on it.
Good riddance.
Thermal Club founder Tim Rogers hosted IndyCar twice over the last 2 years. 2024 for an all-star event. They had a points paying race earlier this year. But in talking to California TV station KESQ, he said this, quote, "Not next year. Main thing is that we need to get a title sponsor. I need to get the infrastructure." It was great working with Indy. It's a great job that Fox Sports is doing with the Indy events, and our members loved it. Coachella Valley loved it. We just need to make sure that it works for all parties. When asked about the future, Rogers said he was hopeful he could return to the schedule maybe as soon as 2027. Quote, "That will be our plan. We'll work with Indy to see if we can fit it into their schedule. We'll have discussions about it if we can do a long-term deal for, say, 3 years, and I'll invest in the stands and the suites." Because that is a problem, too. There's not a whole lot of grandstands around that area. It's a private club.
Because you're racing around a bunch of houses where people can sit on their back deck and watch the race.
Yeah. So now he's going to try and figure out a way to where he could actually, I don't know, try and make money. Because they lost money on the All-Star event and the race because they don't have enough grandstands to get people in the seats. I think I found out that the actual number of people that were in the grandstands that they had, 3,000. You ain't making money putting 3,000 butts in the stands.
Yeah,
You're not going to do it.
You can't.
So we'll see whether or not this actually works. And then becomes the question, where do you put it in the schedule? Because they're talking about trying to go to Mexico City, and they've added the Arlington GP for next year, which is going to go into the slot where Thermal Club was going to be or was this year. So I don't know where they're going to find place on the schedule unless IndyCar does what I have said that they needed to do anyway, which is expand out to about 20 races. I mean, you're wrapping up your year in mid-September? It's too early. It's too early.
IndyCar ain't got enough. Formula One's got too many tracks for not enough races.
I would say I think Formula One's got the right number of races,
but they got too many tracks that need races versus the other tracks.
Exactly.
Cup
needs to figure out how to work in off weekend.
Cup is walking down the path of F1, having too many places for not enough races.
Yeah,
they're walking down that path quickly.
Yeah,
wanting to throw up a street course at every street corner in every major city, it seems.
Now we're talking San Diego, which we mentioned on the show last week.
I don't want to get on that subject.
I know.
But, you know, they could easily go to October.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Through the end of it.
Through the end of it, at worst, early November.
Yeah. I mean, all I'm asking for, they're running 17 race schedule in IndyCar right now. All I'm asking for is give us 3 more races a year and give yourself 3 more races a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because let's face it, they're off from mid-September until when is St. Petersburg? Early March?
Late February, early March. Yep.
That's a long time to be off when NASCAR and Formula One are running into November and December and getting started in late January and early to mid-February.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. I agree.
If we know anything in this world, it's out of sight, out of mind. Bingo. In comparison to all the other racing series that are out there racing on a much more consistent basis.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see what else we got here. Let's turn our attention over to Formula One here. A couple of notes, and then I'll give you the movie review. Former, or I should say F1 rookie driver Kimi Antonelli is finally a high school graduate.
Hey, I got to go to algebra class, but I got to be in Austria this weekend.
Yeah, really. I find it because I think, for example, I go back to my broadcasting school days, and there was a writer that said you didn't have to take final exams if you got a job before you graduated. Okay? Apparently, that's not the way high school works, but this guy had to go through it. So he passed his final exams this past week in Italy. He announced on Monday on social media he'd been told officially he had passed all his required courses and the requisite exams. He's now officially a high school graduate, even though he's halfway into his first Formula One season. Antonelli was asked about it. He said, quote, "I was fairly stressed because I didn't have much time to study, but I did my best." Was asked what his favorite subject was. He answered English, quote, "because that's the one that comes easiest for me." Said he wanted to get everything done this week, quote, "so I can concentrate full time on racing." If this is him splitting his attention, should be interesting to see what he can do in the next couple of years, putting his full focus on it.
Yeah.
Because he's had a pretty impressive rookie year.
He's definitely climbing, for sure.
Yeah. We also noted in the last few weeks here on the show, FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem is up for re-election this December. He is indeed running again. It was thought he was going to have some competition for the position. One noted possibility was Carlos Sainz Sr. expressed back in May that he might actually be interested in running for the presidency, but now the father of the Williams F1 driver, Carlos Sainz, said this week he has decided not to run for that position. Said that, quote, "present circumstances are not ideal to set the grounds for my candidacy." So with his withdrawal, there are not any announced opponents at this time for bin Sulayem. despite some recent controversies and pushback from teams in several series that the FIA governs. So we'll have to see whether or not that actually changes. All right, F1 the movie. It is officially out as of yesterday in wide release. I got a chance to see kind of a sneak preview on Wednesday. And I'll state this. It is a good racing movie. It is not a great racing movie. And I'll state why.
There's a difference between good and great.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. The plot is very well worn. Okay? If you've seen... if you've watched Days of Thunder, this is going to seem familiar. If you watched Bull Durham with Kevin Costner, Tim Robbins from back in the day, the plot's going to seem very familiar because it's a little bit of a combination of the two. Brad Pitt is your star, and the movie kicks off with him having just won a small-time race. He was a former hotshot driver who got seriously injured early in his career in his 20s. And now his former racing partner, Javier Bardem, has turned into a team owner in Formula One, whose team, this is important, Apex GP, is now in its third year of Formula One competition and has never scored a single championship point. Now remember how F1 gets championship points. A driver finishes in the top 10, they score a point. If you're outside of the top 10, you never score a point. Team championship points come from a combination of the two drivers' accumulated total of points, right? Mm-hmm. So this team has never, in its 3 years of racing, even scored a top 10. But he's got this rookie hotshot British kid, and he needs somebody to be a mentor. So Javier Bardem, the team owner, returns to his old buddy, Sonny Hayes, played by Brad Pitt, to come in and see if he can right the ship. They have 9, according to the movie plot, they have 9 races left in their current year, which based upon who's in what car, this is obviously 2024, because Lewis Hamilton's still driving a Mercedes, for example. Mm-hmm. Brad Pitt immediately comes in and starts changing things up and puts everybody on their ear and makes everybody wonder what the heck is he doing until they finally figure it all out. And then somehow, and this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler alert, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. The journey is kind of fun, if a little unrealistic. But in 9 races, you go from never having scored a championship point to the point where your two drivers are vying for a win, battling with Max Verstappen, and you actually claim a win at the end of the year?
AI works wonders, kids.
Doesn't it, though?
Then I see they painted the actual real-life scenario that happened. They put the image of that car, I think it was on Lewis Hamilton's car, making a pass on Verstappen, and it looks like he's passing Verstappen. Yeah. And they took a couple of other different things and used... And this was the executive producership and part of the creative team behind it being Lewis Hamilton himself and Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff, among others. Toto Wolff actually has a quick cameo with a spoken line in it at the end of the film. This is their input into trying to keep things as realistic as possible. Which needs to be. But this is a Hollywood film. Mm-hmm. As you might predict, there is a crash, a big crash in this film. You'll watch that crash and you'll go, that kid ain't going to walk away from that in real life. But he walks away with a couple of minor burns. Right. You know, things like that. It does stretch the boundaries of reason as far as would F1 and or the FIA allow this or that or the other thing. The ride is fun. I will say this, and I will give the ultimate credit to the FIA and Formula One for allowing the movie producers, directors, actors, and all of this to have such access as they did, because the racing action on the track is actually very well done. Right. I mean, I got to give them a lot of credit for the realism. It puts you literally in the car. You feel like you're in the car.
And for that, it's worth watching on as big a screen as you can possibly watch it on. So if you can go watch this in like an IMAX formatted kind of situation, it's worth it. You're going to feel it. You're going to have a good time. It's a nice little rush. But again, this is a good movie that could have been great if the plot weren't so predictable. That's the biggest problem for me.
Yeah.
So using the old Entertainment Roundtable style, for the racing action, it's an easy 8.5 out of 10. But because the plot kind of drags it down, and for the 2.5 hours that you're given, there is a love story in there that you just don't need. And I'll be honest with you, it looks a heck of a lot like Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder.
Color me shocked.
It drops it to about a 6.5.
That's a sizable drop.
I hate to say that.
A sizable drop.
I hate to say that. I really do. Plus, I've never, and I tried to get this out of the way as much as I could. I've never been the biggest Brad Pitt fan. And he'll get into a role where he just has this smirk on his face and it just stays there.
Yeah.
And the longer it stays there, the more I would just like to punch him.
He got to test the McLaren CL39.
And his biggest problem with the fact with doing it was the fact that he didn't hit 200 miles an hour.
But
I think you had a pretty good time, dude.
as the test went, he picked up fairly quick.
Good. Yeah, he picked it up real quick.
Fairly quick.
You got to remember, the cars that they were using in the movie, the Apex GP cars, were actually F2 cars that had body work done to make it look like an F1 car.
Yeah,
so
it was an F1 body on an F2 car.
Yeah. So they weren't getting quite the speed out of there, but they were still allowed to be out on the track during practice session, official practice sessions.
Yeah, I'm talking about he tested the MCL39.
And then he turns around and does
that test at COTA.
Yeah. Then he does that test with McLaren at COTA.
And he was pretty quick.
He was quick. Yeah, he said his biggest complaint about that whole thing, he had a great time, but his biggest complaint was that he just missed hitting 200 miles an hour.
Which was probably down the backstretch.
I would believe it wholeheartedly. So is it worth going to check out for the racing action? Yeah. I would highly suggest F1 the movie. Just, set the plot weaknesses aside.
Yep.
That's the biggest key. All right. NHRA. We don't have any IHRA news this week. But we do have a couple of bits from the NHRA that are pretty important. One of those goes back to that situation that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. This apparently is the year of the disqualification. We got another one. We'll talk about it after this break.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Back to the Championship Racing Network.
Final segment of today's show. Not a whole lot of news left here. It is mainly dealing with the straight liners in the NHRA. Some good news here. Speaking of Rick Ware Racing, there was a reason why I was going through earlier this time, and I was specifically talking about how Rick Ware was selling off the NASCAR arm of the operation. Because I mentioned it at the time. He's involved in the NHRA. He's involved in IndyCar with Dale Coyne. I think he's involved in some way, shape, or form with an IMSA team, but I can't remember which one.
I'm not sure about the IMSA team. He's involved.
I know he was at one time, but
He's
I'm not
involved
sure
with some motocross stuff, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's got his fingers in a whole lot of different pies here. So the sale that we were talking about earlier this year, or earlier this show, apparently is solely for the NASCAR arm. Okay. So for the Rick Ware Racing NHRA arm in Top Fuel, they've got 8-time world champion Tony Schumacher returning and racing for them. And oh, by the way, he's going to get a pretty good crew chief who has won championships as well, Rob Flynn. Flynn began this season earlier this year with the group Scrappers Racing. He was tuning for Jasmine Salinas before her car was parked this year. The family, for whatever reason, decided to just kind of stop racing. I don't know whether it was sponsorship issues or something else going on.
I think it's more Mike's health issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I know he's dealing with health issues. I think it's more related to that.
All right. Flynn said this about that, quote, obviously I wasn't looking to change jobs, but when the Salinas family quit racing for this year, I wasn't ready to retire, so I started looking around. The job right now that's out there is with Tony Schumacher and Rick Ware Racing. Guess you're in pretty good shape then, brother. I gave Jim O, he's talking about Jim Oberhofer, who is the crew chief for Rick Ware Racing's Clay Milliken-driven dragster. Gave him a call. We started talking and went and hung out at Bristol with them. Everything seemed to fit together. I've worked with Jim and Nicky Boninfanti before, and I've worked with Clay before, so this just really fits together. It's just a bunch of people over there that I've worked with in the past. As for Tony Schumacher, Flynn added, quote, I've never worked with Tony. He's always been the opposition, so this should be interesting. Certainly his credentials speak for themselves, so that's going to be exciting to be out here. I don't know when we're going to be out, but we're going to be starting to test shortly. Tony's going to be in a canopy-equipped car, so that might be our only thing that we don't know anything about. But we're starting to look forward to having 2 cars out there giving us a chance of winning on Sunday. This is a really good chance to win. You've got championship pedigree in both the driver, who I don't think it's that big of a deal to adjust to a canopy-equipped car as opposed to an open cockpit top fueler.
I don't think it is either.
I mean, I'm starting to see more and more drivers seemingly go to it.
Stewart's got it. Antron Brown's got it. I think Justin Ashley has it too.
Yeah. I'm starting to see more and more drivers going to it.
Sean Langdon has it. That's the only 4 I can think of right off the top of my mind. Steve Torrance doesn't.
Yeah. And I think right now it's a comfort situation.
Yeah.
You know, if you've been used to doing open cockpit top fuel your whole time, and
Right.
NASCAR's not, or NHRA's not mandating that you have to go closed canopy or open cockpit. They're basically leaving it up to the drivers and the teams.
Yeah, you take your pick. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if you've driven open cockpit all your life and that's what you're comfortable with, and maybe you tried a canopy equipped one and you said, nope, not for me. Okay. No worries on their part. They're not going to force you to do it, at least not yet.
Right.
Maybe someday it might become, I have a hard time calling it a safety issue. I don't know as it is.
Yeah, it's really not. It's just,
So I don't know whether the NHRA would ever go towards mandating it.
I don't think they ever will.
Probably not. And then there's the disqualification. We mentioned it during the race recap at the beginning of the show, and again, the year of the DQ continues to roll on. This time it affects Top Fuel driver Sean Langdon. We talked about it in the recap. Langdon's pass in the finals last Sunday was fast enough to claim the win, but then they went through post-event inspection and they uncovered, get this, that less than 12 bolts securing the bell housing inspection cover. Huh? Well, under the rule book, that cover must be secured by 12 bolts. And while NHRA officials didn't divulge how many were either loose or missing, it was enough for them to cause the disqualification. And Justin Ashley, who blew an engine before he hit the finish line, ends up getting credited with the win. can't imagine that's a massive weight issue.
No, not even close.
Are they going to try and call this a safety situation?
I don't see where you could call it a safety situation with a bell housing.
I mean, this
With attaching the bell housing.
It seems a lot of minutia here.
I don't know where that would come in at. I guess to keep from the possibility of if an engine failure happens and bell housing comes off, clutch discs flying, because that could come like flying salt blades.
Bell housing inspection cover. So it's not even the bell house, it's the inspection cover.
I don't know.
I mean, I get it. A rule is a rule.
I'm trying to remember exactly which position the inspection cover is on the bell housing of the car, because I've had my eyes on it. I just can't remember which side it's on.
Okay. I mean, again, I get it. A rule is a rule to a certain extent, but I'm just trying to figure out exactly how much of an issue this could be.
I don't know. If I remember correctly, I think the bell housing inspection cover is on the top of the bell housing.
Okay.
So, in the clutches, I think the drive turns and they turn counterclockwise. Well, it wouldn't matter if they turn counterclockwise or clockwise. If the inspection cover comes off and one of those clutch discs comes out, that's a flying saw blade.
Yeah, exactly.
At a really high rate of speed.
Yeah. And God only knows exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah, it may land. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It to a point, it seems nitpicky. But again, at the same point in time, not really knowing as much as I would like to about this, I don't know how much of a safety situation this actually could be. This could be a massive safety issue, just like you talked about.
Could.
So,
but I don't know where it would affect the car.
I don't know either, but either way, he's disqualified. Justin Ashley gets the win, so they'll try it again this weekend. Norwalk, Ohio. All right, let's do a couple of things here. I need to go myself and look this up since you are
out of power.
Sans laptop. In the meantime, what has Formula One got going on when it comes to their situation?
Well, they had a red flag come up in Q2 because somebody ran off the track and got a bunch of grass on the track, so they had to get their brooms and sweep the racetrack instead of having a blower.
Excellent.
22 seconds left. As it stands right now, the bottom five that would be out would be Antonelli, Gasly, Albon, Alonso, and Colapinto. Bortoletto is up to P4. Both of the racing bulls, whatever you want to call them. All right, Antonelli just bumped his way in. Everybody's on flyers right now. All right, Russell just bumped out Hadjar.
Okay.
So looks like the bottom five to be out is going to be Hadjar, Berryman, Gasly, Albon, and Colapinto.
Okay.
What it looks like.
Last weekend in our fantasy league, Matt just you chose some interesting drivers that got you a big time win.
Yeah, I had 4 of the top 5.
And that helped him win the week at Pocono, 262 points. Chase B with 224. Junebug had 216. Boomslick had 215. I had 184. Not a great week for me. It was looking pretty good early, but then it went way south. Fire Chef, you had 160. CRN Network, that's producer John. He had 94. Mr. Plow and Staceman both pulling goose eggs there, so I don't know whether they've decided to give up or not. As far as the overall is concerned, Junebug still leading the way, 3,202 points. That's a pretty good lead over Boomslick, 3,083. I'm in third at 2,997. Matt with a good week jumps up to 2,775. And then you got Chase B, Fire Chef, CRN Network, and again, producer John, he got a late start, so he's working his way up the chart. Staceman in there. Mr. Plow signed up, never set a... What's up with that, Mr. Plow? You never set a lineup.
I don't know.
It's a big goose egg there. So we'll keep an eye on it and see how it goes. At the end of the year, I think we figured out we were going to do...
Shirt and a hat.
Shirt and a hat. So we'll work that out when we get closer to it.
All right, the top 10 going to Q. Well, they're going to go to break. Whatever.
Oh, they went to break?
Yeah, they went to break right when I was about to read it off. Let me just go back to the app here. Top 10 going out officially to Q3 is Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Verstappen, Bortoleto, Gasly, Russell, Hamilton, Lawson, and Antonelli.
Okay. All right. So there you go. They're going to be racing tomorrow morning again tonight. TNT. And if you're streaming it like I am, you can get it on the Max site if you haven't got it already. You can get it on the Max streaming service for the next 5 races. And again, Max, this is kind of a catch-all for the next 5 races because as they've been doing all year, you can go in and you can get the in-car camera shot from any driver that you choose, or they've got that one that's got the 4 different cameras in a quadrant. I don't know who they're choosing this week, to be real honest with you.
Right.
So you got that, and you can get TNT through them as well. So you'll still have the chance to get it, and then Peacock, NBC, TIA, and USA will all have it. So, that'll be on the Peacock situation after the 5 races, which will be after the Brickyard 400. So that's tonight. Tomorrow, F1 is in action in the morning. Like I said, NHRA gets action. They are on the Fox network as well, which is pretty cool for them. So they're getting some really good stuff. So that's the way that it goes. I appreciate Keith checking out the movie situation. He mentions Rush as an F1 movie. And
Yeah.
it could be argued that Rush is a better movie than F1 the movie. Truth be told.
You got a basis for one, yeah.
Yeah. Again, the racing action is more realistic.
Yeah.
And I got to give a whole lot of credit to Ron Howard for almost seamlessly taking file footage of the actual racing that year and interspersing it with current, modern day as of when Rush came out, which is a decade ago-ish. Arguably, it's a better movie.
Right.
And again, I'm not trying to tell you that F1 the movie is a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's kind of dragged down by a rather predictable plot. That's the biggest problem that I've got with it. And that might be me nitpicking details. Okay? And I will say this. If I'm to judge based upon what I saw on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. showing, where that movie theater that I was sitting in was about 80% full, that's a good sign.
Oh, yeah.
And I do want it to be a success. I'll tell you that right offhand. But it's going to have to go out and grab all the money that it can right now, because here in the next couple of weeks, you got the latest Jurassic Park movie, you got the Superman reboot coming out. This week it's going up against the horror movie Megan 2.0. I don't know whether that means a dang thing or not. But there's a couple of really big movies that are coming out here over the next couple of weeks. A couple of weeks after Superman comes out, you got the second, third retry at Fantastic Four. So there's a lot of movies that are going to take the spotlight away from F1 the movie. It's got to grab what it can grab right now.
And it looks like it is so far.
Yeah. Like I said, I do hope it's a success. I'm not trying to tell you don't go see it. The racing action is great. Just for me, you got to kind of put the predictable plot aside. That's all. All right. We're going to wrap things up here. Next week, again, you'll hear Matt on Cross Flags, because we're going to try and do that on Tuesday. Again, Producer John, you're warned.
We need to try to do that on Monday because I will be in transit Tuesday.
That's true. So now, Producer John, you've really been warned. We're going to try and do Cross Flags a day early, Monday, and see what we can do. We'll figure out what it is that we're going to talk about. I'm sure that there will be plenty. Don't worry about that. Plus, next week, I'm still planning on doing this show, the big show. Might be by myself. I might be able to pull in a co-host, but I ain't going to guarantee it. So 2 hours by myself. I've done it before. We'll see what we can do. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great week. Enjoy your 4th of July holiday here in the United States. Be careful. Be safe. Stay cool. It's pretty hot out there. Whew. Last thing we want you is to overheat, man.
Oh, yeah.
And to Matt, safe travels. And we'll keep you updated when it comes to the whole situation of his surgery as well. We thank everybody who's been checking us out on CRN Live on YouTube for all the well wishes there.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you next week right here on CRN. And again, cross flags earlier than usual, Monday. Hope you check it out.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.